Sitting in a tall chair with a whistle and a rescue tube looks like the easiest job on the beach. It is not. Lifeguards get screamed at over the tide, the seagulls, the sunshine, and yes, the actual ocean itself. Today, we're going through the wildest, dumbest, most unhinged complaints ever filed against lifeguards. Grab a drink. This one gets weird fast. 1. On a packed 4th of July weekend in Ocean City, a woman marched up to the lifeguard stand and demanded he turn the waves down because her toddler kept getting knocked over. She was serious. She asked for a manager. When the guard tried to explain that the Atlantic Ocean does not have a volume knob, she filed a formal written complaint claiming he was rude and dismissive about safety. The city actually had to draft a response letter. Imagine typing the sentence, "We cannot adjust the ocean." 2. Deep in the middle of a Texas heat wave, a guy at a community pool accused the lifeguard of hoarding shade. She was sitting under the little umbrella clipped to her chair. That was the crime. He wanted her to move into the sun so his family could stand where she was. When she said no, he told the manager she was abusing her position. He wrote a 2-page complaint about an umbrella roughly the size of a large pizza. 3. After ignoring 3 separate rip current warnings on a North Carolina beach, a tourist got pulled under, dragged back in by 2 guards, and then immediately complained that they were too rough during the rescue. He wanted an apology. He also wanted his sunglasses back, which he lost while nearly drowning. The guards were later cleared, but not before he told a local reporter that lifeguards should be gentler with the public. Gentler during a drowning. 4. Halfway through a Saturday shift at a Michigan lake, a lifeguard blew her whistle at a kid sprinting on the dock. The mom lost it. She said the whistle was traumatizing her son and demanded the guard use a softer tone. A softer tone. On a whistle. The complaint went to the Parks Department in writing, with a helpful suggestion that lifeguards be retrained in gentle verbal cues. The kid, meanwhile, was already running again by the time she finished talking. 5. During a red flag day in Panama City, a family decided they were going swimming anyway. The lifeguard told them the water was closed. They went in. He whistled them out. They went back in. He whistled again. They filed a complaint saying he was harassing them and ruining their vacation. Red flags on that coast mean double drownings are statistically likely that day. He was doing his literal job. They wanted him fired. 6. Right in the middle of a busy August afternoon, a woman at a New Jersey beach club walked up and asked the lifeguard to watch her purse while she swam. He said no, that's not the job. She reported him to management for refusing to help a guest. Lifeguards guard lives, not Louis Vuitton, but she genuinely believed the tall chair came with concierge duties. Her follow-up email used the phrase, "unacceptable customer service failure," which is a lot of words for "he wouldn't babysit my bag." 7. Over at an indoor water park in the Wisconsin Dells, a dad complained that the lifeguards were staring too intensely at his kids in the wave pool. Staring at kids in a wave pool. That is the entire job description. He wanted them to look away sometimes to give families privacy. Corporate had to actually explain, in a written response, that constant visual scanning of every swimmer is a legal requirement in every state. He was still not satisfied. 8. Somewhere on the California coast, a surfer paddled way past the safety line, got yelled at by a guard through the loudspeaker, and then drove straight to City Hall to file a noise complaint against the loudspeaker, the one used to save him. He argued the announcement startled him and could have caused an accident. The accident being presumably the one he was already actively causing by ignoring a clearly marked boundary in front of 40 witnesses. 9. On the second day of a family cruise to the Bahamas, a passenger complained that the ship's pool lifeguard wasn't friendly enough. She wanted him to smile more, chat more, and engage with guests. He was watching 30 people in a moving pool on a moving ship in open water. Guest services had to explain, gently, that his job is not the same as a bartender's. She left a 1-star review that specifically called him the grumpy chair guy. 10. Just before closing time at a Phoenix public pool, a man tried to jump in for one more lap after the guards had cleared the water. When the head guard blocked him, the man screamed that she was denying him exercise and threatened to sue the city. He then filed an ADA complaint, claiming lack of pool access was affecting his health. The pool had been open for 11 hours that day. His lap could have happened any of them. 11. In the parking lot of a Long Island beach, a woman confronted a lifeguard because a seagull had stolen her sandwich. She demanded to know why he wasn't controlling the birds. He explained calmly that seagulls are not part of his job. She wrote to the town supervisor saying beach staff should be trained in wildlife management. Her sandwich was turkey. She mentioned that twice in the letter. The supervisor's response, from what I hear, was one very polite paragraph. 12. 2 hours into a lifeguard tryout in Los Angeles, a candidate who failed the swim test filed a complaint saying the ocean was unfairly cold that day. He argued the conditions were not representative of normal working conditions. The test was in June, in the Pacific, which is always cold, because that's what the Pacific does. He requested a retest in a heated pool. The department politely reminded him that the job involves, on occasion, the actual ocean. 13. Right after being told to stop doing backflips off the diving board, a teenager at a Kansas City rec center went home and had his mom email the aquatics director. The email accused the guard of shaming her son's creativity. Creativity. Off a concrete edge. Into 6 feet of water. The director wrote back with a copy of the rules and the incident logs, which included 2 prior head injuries from that same board. Mom did not reply. 14. On a scorching afternoon at Coney Island, a man walked up to a lifeguard and asked her to hold his ice cream while he took a phone call. She said no. He then complained she was unprofessional. He escalated it to the parks department. He included a photo of the melted ice cream as evidence of her refusal to help. The complaint form does have a section for supporting documents. He used it. For a chocolate cone that he left in the sun on purpose. 15. During a summer storm in Tampa, lifeguards cleared the beach because of lightning within 6 miles, which is the standard trigger everywhere in Florida. A family refused to leave and got a fine. They wrote a furious letter claiming the storm was not that close and accusing the guard of overreacting to normal weather. 6 miles is exactly the range where a strike can hit dry sand. That rule exists because people have died. They wanted a refund on their parking. 16. Midway through a hot July afternoon, a lifeguard at a Chicago beach told a group of teens to stop throwing a football in the active swim zone. One of them told his mom the guard was targeting them. She showed up 2 hours later demanding names, badge numbers, and an internal review. The swim zone had a giant red sign that said no throwing objects. The mom did not read the sign. She did, however, read the Guard the Riot Act for 15 straight minutes. 17. Deep in the piney woods of an East Texas summer camp, a parent complained that the lifeguard was not attractive enough to represent the camp. That was the actual written feedback. She wanted a photo of the entire aquatics team before the next session so she could review appearances. The camp politely declined. She pulled her kid out and posted a public review calling the pool staff visually unimpressive. The kid, from what other parents said, absolutely loved that guard. 18. Right before the Independence Day fireworks in San Diego, a couple set up a full picnic in the swim rescue lane, blocking the guard's direct water access. When asked to move, they said the beach was public property, and they had every right to sit anywhere they wanted. They filed a complaint later that night saying the guard ruined the mood of their evening. That lane is legally required to stay clear at all times. It is not decorative. 19. On the 4th complaint of a single shift, a lifeguard at an Orlando resort was written up because a guest said the pool water tasted too much like chlorine. Tasted like chlorine. That is the chemical that keeps the water from becoming a science experiment. The guest wanted less of it. The resort had to send an actual chemist to the pool deck to explain, in person, that the levels were within the state health code. He was not convinced. 20. Coming off a 12-hour shift at a Rhode Island state beach, a young guard was stopped in the parking lot by a woman who wanted to complain about the sand. Specifically, that there was too much of it near the water. She said her flip-flops kept filling up. She wanted to know who was in charge of the sand situation. He pointed at the horizon and said, "The Atlantic, ma'am." She wrote him up for sarcasm, in writing, that she hand-delivered. 21. Just after sunset on a Malibu beach, a man tried to launch a drone directly over the swim area to film cinematic vacation content. When the lifeguard told him drones weren't allowed over swimmers, he claimed she was violating his artistic rights. He filed with the FAA, the city, and the county. All three agencies said the same thing. The guard, meanwhile, had just prevented a very expensive piece of plastic from falling on a child's head. He got zero thanks. 22. Around noon on a busy Saturday in Miami Beach, a tourist walked up to a lifeguard tower and asked when the next dolphin show started. The guard said this wasn't SeaWorld. The tourist accused her of being condescending and reported her to the Visitors Bureau. The complaint specifically requested that lifeguards be given hospitality training so they could better answer guest questions about marine mammal performances on a public beach that has no dolphins. 23. 2 towels down from her stand, a lifeguard at a Cape Cod beach spotted a man burying his friend up to the neck in sand, right where the tide was rising. She told him to move his friend. He refused. She insisted. He wrote a complaint accusing her of interfering with harmless fun. Rising tide plus buried torso equals a rescue call, sometimes a fatal one. That coast has had it happen. He still thought she was overreacting to a beach classic. 24. Halfway into a lifeguard's morning rounds at a Georgia water park, a woman flagged him down because her son's floaty had drifted too far away. It was 6 feet from her chair. She wanted the guard to swim out and retrieve it. He offered her the pool skimmer instead. She reported him for being lazy and unhelpful. The floaty was empty. The son was standing next to her eating a pretzel. Corporate closed the complaint in under an hour. 25. Right after a mass rescue during a rough Jersey Shore swell, a bystander complained that the lifeguards took too long pulling in the 5th swimmer. The rescue involved 4 guards, a jet ski, and 3 simultaneous pulls. All 5 people lived. The bystander, who did nothing, filed an official note suggesting better time management during future emergencies. Guards do log every rescue by the second. Her recommended time was faster than physics allows. 26. 2 weeks into her first season, a rookie guard at a Colorado mountain pool was accused by a guest of sitting too tall. The complaint said her elevated chair felt intimidating and made him self-conscious about his body. The chair sits high on purpose so guards can see the entire pool bottom in one sweep. That is not optional. That is code. He wanted her to sit on the deck instead. Management laughed and archived the note. 27. On the final day of a beach vacation in Destin, a woman complained that the lifeguards weren't matching her family's energy. Her family was celebrating a birthday. She wanted the guards to come down, sing, and take photos. When they politely declined because, again, they were watching 60 people in open water, she posted a scathing review calling the beach emotionally cold. The birthday kid, from what neighbors said, was mortified. 28. During a heavy swimmer day at Jones Beach, a lifeguard cleared the water for a shark sighting confirmed by 2 other stations. A group of swimmers refused to leave. They filed a complaint saying the shark was probably just a dolphin, and the guard was creating panic. State biologists later confirmed it was, in fact, a sand tiger shark. Sand tigers rarely attack, but the clearance rule is automatic. The complainers still wanted their beach day back. 29. Right in front of the guard tower at Venice Beach, a man began doing full CrossFit-style workouts with heavy chains he had brought from home. When the guard asked him to move because he was blocking the rescue path, he accused her of fitness discrimination. He wrote a complaint claiming she targeted him because of his physique. His physique had nothing to do with it. The chains, however, weighed 40 pounds each and were sitting on a first response route. 30. 1 row back from the shore in Wildwood, a family set up a canopy tent, 4 coolers, and a small grill directly in the emergency vehicle lane. When the guard asked them to relocate, the dad said he had seniority because he arrived at 6 that morning. Seniority does not exist on public sand. He filed a complaint arguing the guard was unfamiliar with beach etiquette. Beach etiquette, according to him, meant honoring squatters' rights over ambulance access. 31. After being fished out of a lake in Minnesota with early hypothermia, a man complained that the lifeguards wrapped him in a scratchy blanket. He specifically requested softer materials in future rescues. The blanket was an emergency thermal wrap, the kind that literally saves lives by reflecting body heat. His follow-up email included a link to blankets he preferred from a boutique home goods store. The Parks Department declined to update their gear. 32. On the hottest day of the summer in Sacramento, a woman came up to the pool guard and asked him to adjust the water temperature. He explained there was no temperature control. She said her city taxes should pay for one. She wrote to the mayor. The mayor's office wrote back with a very polite explanation of how outdoor pools work. She replied that the mayor was clearly not a swimmer. She then canceled her pool membership and joined a nicer one, which also does not have a temperature knob. 33. Just before Labor Day weekend at Rehoboth, a lifeguard warned a family that a storm was rolling in and they should pack up. They did not. Lightning struck 200 yards away. Everyone ran, including them. Later that week, they filed a complaint saying the guard's warning had not been urgent enough. He had, in fact, used the loudspeaker 3 separate times. They admitted they were listening to a podcast and had removed one earbud only briefly. 34. Right in the shallow end of a Tennessee community pool, a grandmother demanded the lifeguard stop a group of kids from splashing. He asked her to clarify which kids. She said, all of them. He explained that splashing is generally what pools are for. She filed a written complaint calling him philosophically unhelpful. Philosophically. That word made it into an official municipal record. The pool director framed the complaint and hung it in the break room. 35. Over on the boardwalk in Ocean Beach, a woman approached the lifeguard stand holding a very wet dog. She wanted him to towel it off. He said no. She said the beach was supposed to be family-friendly, and dogs were family. He agreed, then reminded her he was not a dog groomer. She wrote a complaint accusing him of species discrimination. That is a phrase that has never appeared in a lifeguard training manual, before or since. 36. Way out past the buoys at a Hawaii beach, a snorkeler ignored every posted warning and swam into a reef break. Guards pulled him out with a jet ski. On land, he complained that the rescue damaged his GoPro. The GoPro was strapped to his head during a Category 2 rescue involving sharp coral and a heavy current. His written complaint requested reimbursement for the camera. The department's response, from what I heard, was a single sentence about being alive. 37. Just past the lifeguard rotation at a Boston Harbor beach, a jogger tripped over her own dog's leash and sprained her ankle. She then complained that the guards didn't run fast enough to help. They were, at the time, in the middle of a swimmer emergency 30 yards offshore. She waited 9 minutes. She wanted them written up for prioritizing swimmers over walkers. Their entire job title is literally about swimmers. She was undeterred. 38. Deep into a heat advisory in Baltimore, a father complained that the pool's lifeguards were drinking too much water during their rotations. He said it looked unprofessional and distracted from vigilance. Lifeguards are required to hydrate. Failing to hydrate on a 95-degree deck is a good way to pass out and let someone drown. He wanted a policy change. The policy change he got was a printed handout about heat illness, taped near his chair. 39. On a quiet Tuesday morning at a Maine beach, a couple asked the lifeguard where the restroom attendant was. He said there wasn't one. They complained that the beach was understaffed and expected a written apology from the town. Their expectation, apparently, was that public sand came with a bathroom concierge. The town's response, mailed on official letterhead, was 2 lines long and mentioned that the porta potties were, in fact, self-service. 40. Right after a successful CPR revival at a Nevada resort pool, a bystander complained that the guard's response was too dramatic. Too dramatic. During CPR on an unresponsive guest. She wrote that the chest compressions looked violent and might have scared other guests away from the pool. The revived guest sent flowers and a personal thank you. The complainer sent a formal note requesting the guard receive additional training in calmer emergency demeanor. 41. One tower over from the main entrance at Huntington Beach, a surfer complained that the lifeguards' flags were the wrong shade of red. He said the color was aggressive and gave him anxiety before his sessions. Red flags mean dangerous surf. They have to be that color by international water safety standard. He suggested burgundy instead. His written complaint, submitted with color swatches attached, is reportedly still in a filing cabinet somewhere in the city offices. 42. Halfway through a 4th of July at a Delaware bay, a woman lost her wedding ring in 3 feet of water and demanded the lifeguards close the beach to search for it. She wanted every guard, every whistle, every eye on her sand square. When they said no, she filed a complaint calling their refusal an insult to marriage. The ring, incredibly, was found by a kid with a plastic shovel the next morning. She did not amend the complaint. 43. On the far end of a Long Beach pier, a man tried to fish directly into the swim zone, casting weighted hooks over the heads of children. The lifeguard shut him down instantly. He complained that the guard was anti-fishing and had a bias against anglers. Weighted hooks in a swim zone can hospitalize a kid in one bad cast. That has happened. His complaint, in its final paragraph, called the guard the lure police. That part became a break room legend. 44. 2 minutes before closing at a Utah rec center, a mom brought her kids in and demanded the lifeguard stay an extra hour so her family could swim. When they said the pool was closing on schedule, she reported them for denying access to families. Their shift was already 12 hours. Overtime rules exist. Union rules exist. Physics exists. She wrote a follow-up complaint suggesting the city hire more flexible guards. Flexible, apparently, meaning immortal. 45. Just off the shore of a Texas lake, a jet skier buzzed the swim area 3 times, ignoring the lifeguard's whistle. When park rangers ticketed him, he blamed the guard for not warning him louder. The guard's whistle can be heard from a quarter mile. He was 50 yards out. He filed a complaint arguing the guard's whistle should be audibly enhanced. His idea was a marine air horn, which would deafen the actual swimmers she was watching. 46. During a summer camp visit at a Georgia lake, a counselor complained that the lifeguard wouldn't play games with the kids. His job was to watch 30 children in murky freshwater from a rescue post, not to run relay races. The camp director received a 2-paragraph complaint calling the guard aloof and unengaged. The camp director, who was a former guard, wrote back with a very detailed explanation of tunnel vision, drowning statistics, and why a guard's eyes never leave the water. 47. Right after being rescued from a rip current in Kill Devil Hills, a man complained that the lifeguard didn't compliment his swimming. He was face down when they got to him. He had been under 3 times. He genuinely wanted feedback on his stroke. The guard's honest opinion, off the record, was that his stroke was the reason he almost died. His complaint requested a post-rescue swim evaluation form be created for all future rescues. That form does not exist. 48. Way up at a mountain lake in Vermont, a family complained that the lifeguard was reading a book during her shift. She was not. She was scanning the water while holding a laminated rescue protocol card. From 20 feet away, it apparently looked like leisure reading. Their complaint, mailed to the Parks Board, called for a no-reading policy. The board sent them a photo of the actual card, with a polite note that studying rescue steps is technically part of the job. 49. One morning at a New Orleans hotel pool, a lifeguard was asked to make a mimosa. She said no, she was not a bartender. The guest complained she was unwelcoming and not in the resort spirit. Her uniform had a giant red cross on it. She had a rescue tube slung over her shoulder. He genuinely believed those were decorative. His written review, posted on 3 travel sites, ended with the line, "The pool girl refused to serve me." The pool girl saved a kid the next afternoon. 50. Late into a busy 4th of July at Coney, a woman complained that the lifeguards kept blowing whistles all day. She wanted the whistles reserved only for real emergencies. Every single whistle blown that day was for a real reason, mostly kids drifting toward the jetty. She wrote to the park's commissioner, suggesting a quieter signaling method, like hand gestures. Hand gestures from 100 yards out in glare through waves. Genius idea. Absolutely unworkable. 51. Just outside the guard shack at a Missouri water park, a dad accused the lifeguard of showing favoritism because he had let one kid keep a foam noodle in the wave pool. That kid was 6. The pool rule allows foam floats for kids under 7. The dad's kid was 9 and wanted a noodle too. The complaint accused the guard of arbitrary and inconsistent enforcement. The rule was posted on a giant sign 12 feet from where he was standing. 52. On a cold morning at a Washington State pool, a swimmer complained that the lifeguard was wearing a jacket while on duty. He said it looked unprofessional and unprepared for rescue. The jacket was over her swimsuit, which she was required to wear underneath. Pool deck rules in most states let guards layer up between rescues to avoid hypothermia during long shifts. He wanted her jacket confiscated. Management, wisely, ignored him. 53. Right after a busy weekend at a South Carolina beach, a woman filed a complaint saying the lifeguards had stared at her too long during a rescue nearby. She had not been the person rescued. She had been watching from her chair. The guards, obviously, were scanning past her because that is what scanning is. She perceived it as personal attention. Her complaint asked for guards to be more discreet with their eyes. Discreet lifeguarding is not a real thing. 54. One town over from a Michigan beach club, a member complained that the lifeguard spoke to her husband in a familiar tone. Her husband had asked a question. The guard had answered it. The complaint accused the guard of flirting on duty. The guard was 19. The husband was 62. The whole exchange was about which flag color meant what. The club posted a printout of flag meanings on the entrance gate that week, without further comment. 55. 2 hours before the summer camp season ended, a parent complained that the lifeguards did not learn her daughter's name. There were 400 campers. The guards rotated stations every 20 minutes. Names are not the job. Watching is the job. Her written note requested a personalized guard assignment for the following summer, with matching name tags for every child. The camp declined gently in a letter that used the phrase operational reality 3 separate times. 56. Right in the middle of an Arizona pool party, a lifeguard removed a glass beer bottle from the deck. Glass on a pool deck is banned everywhere, always, for obvious reasons. The bottle's owner complained that the guard confiscated personal property and demanded reimbursement. He also requested the guard be reported for theft. The pool manager reviewed the tape, saw the guard follow protocol perfectly, and sent the man a printout of the state health code. He never wrote back. 57. Just past the volleyball nets at Manhattan Beach, a lifeguard told 2 teens to stop doing chicken fights in chest-deep water. One of them fell awkwardly the previous week at a different beach and ended up in a neck brace. The teens' parents filed a complaint saying the guard was policing normal beach games. Chicken fights have caused paralysis. Actual paralysis. The parents did not know that. They did after the Parks Department sent them a very grim reply. 58. Around lunchtime at a Kentucky Lake beach, a woman complained that the lifeguard didn't offer her sunscreen. She had forgotten hers. She expected the stand to have some. She wrote that beach staff should carry supplies for guest use. Lifeguards do carry supplies. Rescue supplies. Not SPF 30. Her follow-up email suggested a welcome kit for every beachgoer. The Parks Department replied with a link to the concession stand's sunscreen prices, which she did not appreciate. 59. 4 complaints. Deep into one brutal Tampa shift, a guard at a hotel pool was accused of not making eye contact. Eye contact with guests, that is. His eyes were on the water. That was his job. The guest wrote that she felt invisible during her swim. She wanted an apology and a spa credit. She got the spa credit from the hotel, not the guard. He got a laugh from his co-workers and a printed sign for his tower that read, in tiny letters, eyes on water. 60. Right after helping a lost toddler find her parents, a lifeguard at a Delaware beach was accused of touching a child without consent. He had held her hand while walking her from the water back to the boardwalk announcement stand. In front of 200 people. On camera. The mother thanked him first, then filed the complaint the next day after reading a scary article online. Every review board cleared him. His shift schedule never quite recovered, and he moved to a different beach the next summer. 61. One late July evening in Santa Monica, a couple complained that the lifeguards closed the water too early. The water had been closed because a small oil sheen was spreading near the shore. Environmental Services confirmed it. The couple insisted it was just a shadow and demanded the beach reopen for their sunset swim. Oil sheens on skin are miserable and, in some cases, toxic. Their complaint became part of a public records request months later, still swearing it was a shadow. 62. Way down at the far end of a Florida pier, a fisherman complained that the lifeguards had scared his fish away with their patrol runs. He said the jet ski engine noise was ruining the ecosystem. Fish do not care about jet skis. Fish care about hooks. His complaint asked for guards to switch to silent patrol methods, which is a phrase that will haunt that department's inbox forever. Silent patrol, in a rescue context, is called being late. 63. Just after a beach cleanup event in San Diego, a volunteer complained that the lifeguards didn't help pick up trash during their shifts. She wrote that guards should contribute to community efforts. Guards are legally required to keep their eyes on the water every single second. Bending down to grab a coffee cup takes their eyes off a swimmer for 2 seconds, which is exactly how long it takes a kid to go under. Her complaint made it to the city council. The council's response included the phrase, "That is not how drowning works." 64. 2 towers south of the pier at Wrightsville Beach, a man complained that the lifeguard refused to settle an argument between him and his wife about which direction the current was flowing. He wanted a professional opinion on the record so he could win the debate. The guard, being paid to watch swimmers and not mediate marriages, declined. He filed a complaint saying the guard was unhelpful with basic ocean questions. The wife, from what onlookers said, was already right. Lifeguards get paid to save your life, not to fetch your sandwich, control the tide, or dim the sun. Next time you see one in the tall chair, maybe just say thanks. Which of these complaints made your jaw actually drop? Drop it in the comments. I read every one. Hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about people losing their minds in public. See you in the next one.